Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his ship and looked at the screens showing enemy ships approaching. His hands were steady, but his mind was racing. For 300 years, humans had been the favorite prey of alien hunters across the galaxy. Today felt different, though. Today something was going to change. The Vorthak Empire had been hunting humans for sport for as long as anyone could remember. They were big creatures with thick skin and sharp claws who thought humans were fun to chase. They would attack human colonies, take people as slaves, and sell them to other aliens who wanted exotic pets or fighters for their games. Humans always ran or hid or begged for mercy. The aliens expected nothing else. Lisa Hayes walked over to Jake and handed him a data pad. She was his second in command and had been tracking the alien fleet for days. Her face was grim as she spoke. 12 ships, sir. They are heading straight for Kepler Colony. 2 million people live there. The Vorthak are not trying to hide their approach. Jake nodded and studied the information. The alien ships were massive things that looked like they were grown rather than built. Each one could destroy a planet if they wanted to. The Vorthak liked to make humans choose between giving up half their people for hunting or watching everyone die. Most colonies chose to sacrifice some to save the rest. Down in the science labs, Elena Rodriguez was working on something that might change everything. She had been studying human history and biology for months. What she found surprised her. Humans were not weak prey animals like the aliens thought. They were something much more dangerous that the galaxy had never seen before. Elena came to the bridge carrying her research files. Her eyes were bright with excitement and fear. Jake, I need to show you something important. The aliens think they understand humans, but they are completely wrong. She activated a hologram that showed human evolution on Earth. Look at this. Humans did not evolve to be fast or strong. They evolved to never give up. On Earth, humans would chase animals for days across vast distances until the prey collapsed from exhaustion. No other species could do this. Human ancestors would track wounded mammoths for weeks without stopping. Jake studied the images of ancient humans pursuing prey across continents. What does this mean for us now? Elena's voice was steady. It means we have been acting like the wrong kind of animal. We have been trying to be rabbits when we should be wolves. But not just any wolves. We are wolves that never stop hunting once we start. The communication system buzzed with an incoming message. On the main screen appeared the face of Huntmaster Zethkar, the leader of the Vorthak fleet. His yellow eyes gleamed with anticipation, and his mouth, full of sharp teeth, opened in what might have been a smile. Humans of Kepler Colony, the alien said in broken English. You know the rules of the hunt. Give us 1 million of your people or we will take all of them. You have 6 hours to decide. Resistance means death for everyone. The transmission ended and the bridge was quiet. This was how it always went. The aliens made their demands, and humans had to choose between terrible and worse. But Jake was thinking about what Elena had shown him. Maybe it was time to stop playing by alien rules. Jake activated the ship's long-range communications and sent a coded message to every human settlement, ship, and outpost in known space. The message was short, but it would change everything. Protocol 7. The hunt ends today. Protocol 7 was a plan that had been developed in secret over many years. Most humans did not even know it existed. It was based on the idea that if humans ever stopped running and started hunting instead, they could turn their greatest weakness into their greatest strength. Lisa looked at Jake with surprise. Sir, are you sure about this? Protocol 7 means total war. Once we start, there is no going back. Jake nodded slowly. Elena is right. We have been thinking about this all wrong. The aliens see us as prey because we act like prey. But humans are not prey animals. We are persistence predators. We are the species that chased megafauna to extinction on Earth. We just forgot who we really are. The Vorthak fleet was getting closer to Kepler colony. In a few hours, they would arrive expecting the usual surrender or slaughter. Instead, they were going to discover something that would terrify every predator species in the galaxy. They were going to learn what happened when prey animals stopped running and remembered how to hunt. Elena was already working on modifications to the ships, weapons, and engines. The other crew members were preparing for something they had never done before. They were getting ready to be the hunters instead of the hunted. Jake looked out at the stars and thought about all the humans who had died in alien hunting games over the centuries. Today that was going to end. Today humanity was going to show the galaxy what 300 years of being prey had taught them about being predators. The hunt was about to begin, but this time humans would be doing the hunting. Ben Carter sat in front of his communications console listening to alien chatter from across the galaxy. What he heard made his blood run cold. The Vorthak were not just attacking Kepler colony. They had launched hunting raids on 17 different human settlements at the same time. They thought this massive show of force would finally break human resistance forever. Ben quickly sent the intelligence to Jake Morrison and the other ship commanders. The aliens had made a terrible mistake. They thought attacking many targets at once would make humans panic and surrender faster. Instead, they had just given humanity 17 chances to show what they could really do when cornered. Elena Rodriguez had spent the night going through her research again. Her discovery about human persistence hunting was just the beginning. She found something even more important in the old files. Humans were not just individual persistence hunters, they were pack persistence hunters. They could coordinate their relentless pursuit across vast distances and long periods of time. She sent her findings to every human commander receiving the Protocol 7 activation. The message was clear. Humans had evolved to work together in ways that no other predator species could match. While alien hunters worked alone or in small groups for short periods, humans could maintain organized campaigns indefinitely. The first test came at Proxima Centauri colony. Amy Thompson was in charge of the defense there. When the Zephyrian raiders landed expecting to find frightened civilians, they found something completely different. The humans did not run or hide. They fought back with a calculated fury that shocked the aliens. Amy had read Elena's research and understood what needed to be done. The Zephyrians were ambush predators who relied on quick strikes and overwhelming force. They expected their prey to either fight desperately for a few minutes and then die or flee in terror. Humans did neither. Instead, the human defenders began a systematic campaign of harassment. They attacked the alien landing parties and then retreated, but only far enough to regroup. When the aliens pursued, the humans led them into traps. When the aliens tried to rest, humans appeared from nowhere to attack again. Hour after hour, day after day, the pressure never stopped. The Zephyrian commander sent increasingly frantic messages back to his ship. His troops were exhausted and demoralized. Every time they thought they had won a victory, the humans came back. Every time they tried to establish a secure position, humans found a way to attack it. The aliens had never faced an enemy that simply would not give up. Ryan Brooks commanded a small patrol fleet that had been monitoring alien communications. He intercepted messages between different alien species and noticed something interesting. The tone of their communications was changing. At first, the aliens sounded confident and amused. Then they sounded annoyed. Now they sounded worried. 2. Reports coming in from the human colonies were unlike anything in recorded history. Humans were not just defending themselves, they were pursuing their attackers. When alien raiding parties tried to retreat to their ships, human forces followed them. When alien ships tried to leave the system, human vessels gave chase. Kevin Walsh was a military strategist who had studied alien warfare for years. He realized that the human approach was psychologically devastating to species that had evolved as quick-strike predators. Most alien hunters were designed to make fast kills and then rest for long periods. They could not handle the constant pressure of an enemy that never stopped coming. On the surface of Kepler Colony, Maria Santos led a group of civilian volunteers in the most audacious demonstration yet. When Vorthak ground forces captured the main settlement, the humans did not accept defeat. Instead, they began a campaign of psychological warfare that drove the aliens to the edge of madness. The humans would appear at night near alien camps. They would leave evidence that they had been there. Dead alien sentries would be found with human weapons nearby. Alien equipment would be sabotaged in ways that showed human intelligence and planning. The Vorthak began to realize they were not hunting prey. They were being hunted. Steve Parker coordinated the resistance efforts from a hidden command center deep underground. Intelligence reports from across the galaxy showed the same pattern everywhere. Alien hunting parties that expected quick raids were finding themselves trapped in prolonged conflicts they could not win. The alien hunters had evolved to pursue prey that would eventually tire and give up. Humans were prey that became more dangerous the longer they were pursued. Every attack on a human settlement was turning into a nightmare for the attackers. Parker reviewed the latest reports with satisfaction. Human survivors were not seeking safety. They were seeking revenge. Families who had lost members to alien hunters were tracking down the killers across star systems. Human rescue teams were following alien slavers for months without giving up the chase. The psychological impact was spreading through alien communication networks faster than the actual fighting. Species across the galaxy were hearing stories about humans who would not stop hunting once they started. Predator civilizations that had dominated through fear were beginning to experience fear themselves. The aliens had awakened something in humanity that had been sleeping for centuries. They had reminded humans what they really were. Not prey animals cowering in fear, but persistent predators who had once hunted the largest creatures on Earth to extinction through sheer determination. The awakening was spreading. Every human who heard about Protocol 7 understood what it meant. The time for running and hiding was over. The time for hunting had begun. And humans were very, very good at hunting when they put their minds to it. The galaxy was about to learn what happened when you turned the most relentless persistence. Hunters in known space from prey into predators. Ryan Brooks intercepted another alien transmission and could hardly believe what he was hearing. The Scaranian Hunters Guild was requesting emergency reinforcements for what they had expected to be a simple raid on a human mining station. The humans had been fighting back for 6 days straight without any sign of stopping. The aliens sounded genuinely frightened. The news was spreading through alien networks faster than anyone had expected. Species that had spent centuries hunting. Humans were suddenly discovering that their prey had teeth. More importantly, the prey never stopped using those teeth once they decided to bite. Kevin Walsh studied the psychological profiles of various alien species from his position aboard the UES Retribution. What he found was fascinating and terrifying. Most predator species in the galaxy had evolved for quick, decisive hunts. They would strike fast, overwhelm their prey, and then rest for extended periods. Humans were doing something that broke this natural cycle completely. The humans were not resting. They were not backing down after winning small victories. Instead, every successful defense was followed by pursuit. Every alien retreat was followed by human forces that tracked them relentlessly across space. The psychological impact on alien hunters was devastating. On Kepler Colony, Maria Santos had turned her civilian volunteers into something the galaxy had never seen before. They were not soldiers in any traditional sense. They were human persistence hunters working together as a coordinated pack. When Vorthak forces tried to establish secure positions, the humans would probe for weaknesses constantly. The aliens would capture a building and think they had won a victory. Then humans would appear on the roof. They would secure a landing zone, and humans would attack from underground tunnels. They would set up defensive positions, and humans would snipe at them from impossible distances. The pressure never stopped, never lessened, never gave the aliens time to rest or recover. Maria watched through binoculars as a group of Vorthak warriors stumbled through the ruins of the settlement. They had not slept properly in days. Their leader kept looking over his shoulder, jumping at every sound. These were apex predators from a species that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia, and they were falling apart under constant human pressure. Steve Parker received reports from across the 17 attacked colonies that painted the same picture everywhere. Human defenders were not just holding their ground. They were systematically breaking down alien hunting parties through relentless harassment. The aliens could not adapt to an enemy that never gave them a moment of peace. But the most disturbing reports were coming from human rescue teams and pursuit forces. Families who had lost members to alien slavers were following the kidnappers across multiple star systems. These were not trained soldiers or experienced hunters. They were ordinary humans who had decided that some aliens needed to die and who would not stop until that happened. The UES Stalker had been following a Drakmarian slave ship for 3 weeks. Captain Nicole Johnson reported that the alien crew was showing signs of severe psychological stress. They had expected to raid a human freighter, take some slaves, and return home to sell them. Instead, they found themselves being hunted across the galaxy by relatives of their victims. The aliens had tried everything. They had changed course multiple times, used false transponder signals, even dumped their human cargo hoping the pursuit would end. But the humans kept coming. Day after day, week after week, the human ships stayed on their trail. The Drakmarian captain was sending increasingly desperate messages to his government requesting military escort. Alex Turner led the most extreme example of human persistence hunting yet recorded. His unit had been tracking the aliens responsible for the massacre at New Geneva for 4 months. They had followed them through 7 star systems, across 2 spiral arms of the galaxy, through asteroid fields and nebulae and hostile alien territory. The alien crew they were pursuing had long since abandoned any pretense of normal behavior. They were paranoid, exhausted, and terrified. They knew that somewhere behind them, getting closer every day, were the humans who would never stop coming. The psychological torture was more effective than any physical weapon. Turner studied the star charts and smiled grimly. The aliens were making mistakes now, taking desperate shortcuts through dangerous regions of space. Fear was making them sloppy. Soon they would make a mistake big enough for the humans to catch them. And when that happened, the galaxy would learn what human justice looked like. The galactic community was beginning to take notice of what was happening. Species that had remained neutral in the human hunting trade were receiving reports that challenged everything they thought they knew about humans. The prey had revealed itself to be something far more dangerous than anyone had imagined. Patricia Williams analyzed captured alien communications from her research station. The patterns were clear and deeply disturbing to the alien mindset. Predator species across the galaxy were exhibiting symptoms of chronic stress and paranoia. They had evolved hunting instincts that required rest periods between hunts. Humans were denying them that rest. The humans were demonstrating something that no other species in the galaxy possessed. They could maintain focused aggression indefinitely. They could coordinate pursuit efforts across vast distances and time periods. Most importantly, they could pass the hunt from one group to another, ensuring that the pressure never stopped. Chris Nelson reviewed intelligence reports from the outer rim territories. Alien hunting fleets that had operated in those regions for decades were suddenly requesting reassignment to areas with no human presence. The reputation of human persistence was spreading faster than actual human forces. Some alien species were beginning to relocate entire populations away from human space. The psychological victory was more complete than anyone had dared hope. Humans had not just stopped being prey. They had become the thing that predators feared most in the dark between the stars. The pack had responded to the threat, and the pack was relentless. Across 17 worlds and spreading outward, humanity was showing the galaxy what 3 centuries of being hunted had taught them about hunting. The lesson was simple and terrifying. When humans decided something needed to die, it would die. Eventually. Inevitably. No matter how long it took or how far they had to chase it, the galaxy was learning to fear the persistence of the human pack. Chris Nelson sat in his command chair reading reports that made him smile for the first time in months. Across 17 star systems, alien hunting parties were sending increasingly desperate calls for reinforcement and evacuation. The hunters had become the hunted, and they did not like the experience at all. The most telling report came from Nicole Johnson aboard the UES Relentless. She had been trailing a Scaranian slaver ship for 5 weeks now. The aliens had raided a human transport vessel expecting a quick score and easy profits. Instead, they found themselves being systematically hunted across multiple solar systems by relatives of their victims. Johnson reviewed her tactical display with satisfaction. The Scaranian ship had tried every evasion technique in their considerable arsenal. They had used asteroid fields for cover, attempted to lose pursuit in nebulae, and even tried hiding in the gravity well of a gas giant. Nothing worked. The humans stayed on their trail with mechanical persistence. The psychological reports from intercepted alien communications were fascinating. Patricia Williams had been studying them from her research station and found patterns that revealed just how devastating the human approach really was. Predator species across the galaxy were beginning to exhibit symptoms of severe chronic stress. The aliens had evolved hunting instincts that required clear cycles of hunt, kill, rest, and recovery. Humans were disrupting this natural rhythm completely. There was no rest period. There was no recovery time. There was only the constant knowledge that somewhere behind them, the humans were still coming. Alex Turner had achieved something unprecedented in galactic history. His unit had been tracking the same group of aliens for 6 months now, following them through 9 star systems and across half the galaxy. The alien crew had descended into complete paranoid madness. They broadcasted random surrender offers to empty space, hoping the humans might hear and show mercy. Turner studied the psychological profiles his unit had compiled on their quarry. The aliens had stopped thinking rationally weeks ago. They were making mistakes born of desperation and terror. Soon they would make the final mistake that would allow the humans to close the trap they had been building for months. The broader impact was becoming clear through intelligence networks across human space. Sandra Lewis coordinated pursuit efforts from the command center on New Earth and reported that the psychological warfare was more effective than anyone had dared hope. Alien species that had terrorized the galaxy for millennia were now afraid to sleep. Former predator species were exhibiting behaviors never before recorded. They were jumping at shadows, seeing human ships where none existed, and abandoning profitable hunting grounds based on rumors of human presence. The reputation for relentless pursuit had become a weapon more powerful than any plasma cannon. Andrew Kim had been studying xenopsychology for years, and his current research revealed why the human approach was so devastatingly effective. Most alien predators were either ambush hunters with specific territories or pack hunters with clear hierarchies and hunting seasons. Humans were pursuit predators with social structures that allowed for multi-generational campaigns. The implications were staggering. Humans could maintain focused aggression across decades if necessary. They could pass hunting responsibilities from parents to children, from one ship crew to another, from one colony to the next. The hunt could outlive individual hunters while maintaining the same relentless focus. Julie Anderson commanded a patrol squadron in the Outer Rim territories and reported the most significant development yet. A Vorthak hunting fleet had detected human ships in the system and immediately retreated without engaging. The legendary hunters of the galaxy were now fleeing at the mere possibility of human contact. The reversal was complete. Species that had ruled through fear were now ruled by fear. The psychological victory had spread beyond the original 17 targeted systems. Alien civilizations across the galaxy were receiving reports about human persistence that challenged everything they thought they knew about prey and predator relationships. Robert Clark reviewed strategic intelligence from his position as overall coordinator of human resistance efforts. The data showed a fundamental shift in galactic power dynamics. Former allies of hunting species were distancing themselves from the trade. Neutral species were opening diplomatic channels with humanity for the first time. Some species were even requesting human protection from other threats. They had witnessed the devastating effectiveness of human persistence hunting and wanted those same traits working for them rather than against them. The galaxy's apex predators were seeking protection from their former prey. The most remarkable reports came from human pursuit teams that had been operating for months without resupply or reinforcement. They were maintaining their hunts through sheer determination, improvising solutions to technical problems, and adapting to alien tactics with frightening efficiency. The humans had become something the galaxy had never seen before. Elena Rodriguez continued her research into human evolutionary advantages and made another disturbing discovery. Human persistence hunting was not just about physical endurance. It was about cognitive endurance. Humans could maintain complex strategic thinking while under stress for extended periods. This combination of traits was apparently unique in known space. The aliens were discovering that humans were not just physically relentless, they were mentally relentless. They could adapt their hunting strategies in real time, learn from alien countermeasures, and develop new approaches to pursuit without losing focus on their ultimate goal. This made them nearly impossible to escape once they decided someone needed to die. Jake Morrison received reports from across human space that painted a clear picture. The hunting of humans had not just stopped, it had been permanently reversed. Humanity had achieved something unprecedented in galactic history through pure psychological warfare. They had convinced every predator species in known space that humans were too dangerous to hunt. The transformation was complete. Humanity had stopped being prey by remembering what they had always been. They were persistence predators who had evolved to chase their targets across continents and through time itself. Now they were chasing their targets across star systems. And through the vast darkness between worlds, the hunters had become the hunted, and they would remain hunted until humanity decided the debt was paid. Given human persistence, that might be a very long time indeed. Robert Clark sat in his office reading intelligence reports that would have seemed impossible just months before. The alien hunting trade had not just stopped, it had completely reversed. Former predator species were now actively relocating their entire civilizations to put as much distance as possible between themselves and human space. The psychological warfare had exceeded every projection. Sandra Lewis coordinated pursuit operations from the Tactical Center and reported that alien fleets were abandoning profitable hunting grounds based solely on rumors of human presence in nearby systems. The fear had spread faster than actual human forces. The most significant incident came from the Rigel sector, where Commander Julie Anderson had been patrolling with a small squadron. A massive Vorthak hunting fleet had approached a system with 3 human colonies. Upon detecting Anderson's 4 patrol ships, the entire alien fleet had immediately reversed course and fled the system without any engagement whatsoever. Anderson reviewed the tactical recordings with amazement. 40 alien warships had retreated from 4 human patrol vessels. The psychological victory was so complete that the legendary hunters of the galaxy now fled at the first sign of human presence. Fear had become humanity's most powerful weapon. Andrew Kim continued his xenopsychology research and uncovered why the human approach was so psychologically devastating to alien predators. Most hunting species had evolved with clear concepts of territory, hunting seasons, and recovery periods. Humans operated outside these natural limitations entirely. The research showed that human persistence hunting had evolved to ignore traditional predator-prey boundaries. Humans could pursue targets across any distance, through any environment, for any length of time. More importantly, they could coordinate these efforts across multiple generations if necessary. The hunt could outlive individual hunters while Maintaining perfect focus. Dr. Patricia Williams analyzed intercepted alien communications and found patterns that revealed the scope of the psychological impact. Predator species across known space were exhibiting symptoms that their own medical experts could not explain. They were experiencing constant stress, paranoid episodes, and collective anxiety disorders. The aliens were afraid to sleep because they might dream of humans pursuing them. They were afraid to hunt because humans might be hunting them. They were afraid to remain in one location too long because humans might track them there. The psychological pressure was destroying their ability to function as predators. Captain Daniel Harris patrolled the Outer Rim territories and sent regular reports about alien population movements. Entire species were voluntarily relocating away from any region with human activity. The exodus was creating refugee crises in distant parts of the galaxy as predator species fled from their former hunting grounds. The economic impact was staggering. The alien hunting trade had been worth trillions of credits annually across dozens of species. Now that trade had not only stopped, but reversed into a massive drain on resources as aliens spent fortunes trying to escape human attention. Fear was bankrupting entire civilizations. Elizabeth Moore compiled the final analysis of human pursuit operations, and the results were beyond anything strategists had predicted. Humanity had achieved total victory without firing a shot in most cases. The mere reputation for relentless pursuit had become more effective than any weapon in the human arsenal. The psychological profiles showed that alien predators were now telling cautionary tales about humans to their young. Stories about the species that never stopped hunting once they started. Legends about human persistence that grew more terrifying with each retelling. Fear was becoming embedded in alien culture itself. Paul Rodriguez commanded the human fleet that no longer needed to fight. Their mere presence in a system was enough to deter any hostile action. Alien vessels would detect human ships and immediately transmit peaceful intentions before fleeing the area. The reputation of human persistence had become a shield protecting every human settlement. The diplomatic implications were revolutionary. Species that had never acknowledged human sovereignty were now sending official envoys to negotiate non-aggression treaties. Former allies of hunting civilizations were publicly distancing themselves from the trade and requesting human friendship instead. Margaret Foster received regular briefings about the changing galactic political landscape from her position as President of Earth. Neutral species were not just opening diplomatic channels with humanity, they were offering tribute, trade agreements, and military alliances. Fear had made humanity the most sought-after ally in known space. The transformation was so complete that some alien species were requesting human protection from other threats. They had witnessed what human persistence could accomplish and wanted, those same relentless traits working for them rather than against them. Former predators were seeking protection from their former prey. Ben Carter monitored alien communication networks and reported that the psychological victory was spreading to species that had never directly participated in human hunting. The reputation for persistence was creating a ripple effect throughout galactic civilization. Every species was reevaluating their relationship with humanity. The most remarkable development was the emergence of human protection services. Some alien civilizations were offering substantial payments for human ships to patrol their territories and deter threats. The species that had once been hunted for sport was now being hired as the ultimate deterrent against any aggression. Jake Morrison reviewed the overall strategic situation and marveled at how completely the tables had turned. Human ships were now the most respected and feared vessels in known space, not because of superior firepower or advanced technology, but because everyone knew that humans never gave up once they decided someone was their enemy. The terror had spread to every corner of known space. Alien civilizations that had never heard of Earth were now telling stories about human persistence. The reputation had taken on a life of its own. growing more fearsome with each telling until humans had become the boogeyman of galactic civilization. The moment humanity stopped being, prey had created a cascade of fear that reshaped the entire galaxy. Former predators were now prey themselves, constantly looking over their shoulders, never sure if somewhere behind them, in the vast darkness between stars, humans were still coming for them. The terror would continue to spread because that was what terror did, and humans had become very good at being terrifying to those who deserved their fear. Margaret Foster stood before the Galactic Council for the first time in human history. The chamber that had once refused to acknowledge human existence now hung on her every word. The species that had been considered exotic prey just months before was now invited to speak as the new apex predator in known space. Her message was simple and delivered in a calm voice that somehow made it more terrifying. The hunting of humans is permanently ended. Humanity will enforce this decision across the galaxy. Any species that attempts to harm humans will discover why we stopped being prey. The assembled alien delegates listened in complete silence. Many of them represented civilizations that had once profited from human suffering. Now they sat quietly, afraid to do anything that might draw human attention to their worlds. Fear had made them respectful in ways that diplomacy never could. Admiral Paul Rodriguez commanded the human fleet that no longer needed to fight battles to win them. The mere presence of human ships in a system was enough to resolve any conflict, in humanity's favor. Alien vessels would transmit surrender signals before human forces even made demands. The psychological victory was so complete that many alien species had begun writing human-friendly clauses into their basic laws. Harming humans became not just illegal, but culturally taboo. Children across the galaxy grew up learning that humans were the one species you never, ever made angry. Elizabeth Moore published her final report on the conflict, and the conclusions were staggering. Humanity had won a war not through superior technology or overwhelming force, but through pure psychological dominance. They had convinced the galaxy that humans were too dangerous to fight and too persistent to escape. The research showed that humans had achieved something unprecedented in recorded galactic history. They had reversed a predator-prey relationship through reputation alone. No other species had ever managed to transform from hunted to hunter using only the threat of relentless pursuit. Daniel Harris continued his patrols of the Outer Rim territories, but his job had become almost boring. Alien civilizations in the region competed to offer his ships the best hospitality and supply services. Former hunting grounds had been converted into human-friendly way stations where his crews were treated like visiting royalty. The economic transformation was as dramatic as the psychological one. The collapse of the hunting trade had created massive economic opportunities for species willing to work with humans instead of against them. Trade routes that had been too dangerous for human ships were now secured by alien governments desperate to maintain human friendship. Dr. Andrew Kim's xenopsychology research revealed the long-term implications of humanity's rise to apex predator status. Alien species were already adapting their cultural evolution to account for human persistence. Future generations would grow up in a galaxy where humans were the ultimate deterrent against aggression. The cultural impact was spreading beyond just fear. Some alien species had begun adopting human concepts of persistence and long-term thinking in their own societies. The reputation for never giving up was becoming something that other species wanted to emulate rather than fight. Captain Sandra Lewis coordinated the new reality of human military operations from her command center. Most of her job now involved managing requests from alien governments for human protection services. Former predators were paying enormous sums for human ships to patrol their territories and deter threats. The irony was not lost on anyone. Species that had once hunted humans for sport were now hiring humans to protect them from other threats. The galaxy's apex predators had become clients of their former prey. The reversal was so complete it seemed almost impossible. Jake Morrison reviewed intelligence reports from across known space and marveled at how thoroughly the situation had changed. Alien pirates avoided any system with human presence. Territorial. Disputes were resolved by whichever side could claim human support. Wars ended when one faction hired human advisors. The transformation went beyond military matters. Human persistence had become the gold standard for any long-term project. Alien corporations hired human consultants to manage projects that required sustained effort over years or decades. The reputation for never giving up had become a valuable commodity. Elena Rodriguez continued her research into human evolutionary advantages and made one final discovery that explained everything. Human persistence hunting was not just about pursuing prey until it collapsed. It was about pursuing goals until they were achieved, regardless of obstacles or time required. This trait had allowed humans to build civilizations, cross oceans, and eventually reach the stars. Now it had allowed them to reverse their position in the galactic food chain through sheer determination. The same persistence that had once driven human evolution was now reshaping galactic civilization. The moment humanity stopped being prey was marked not by a great battle or technological breakthrough, but by the simple realization that humans possessed something no other species in the galaxy had. They could pursue their enemies across space and time with unwavering determination that never faded and never failed. Chris Nelson compiled the final strategic assessment of humanity's new position in galactic affairs. Humans had achieved total victory through psychological warfare alone. They had become the apex predator species without firing a shot in most cases. Fear had been more effective than any weapon. In the vast expanse of space, alien civilizations now told cautionary tales about humans to their children. Stories about the species that turned hunting into being hunted. Legends about persistence that transformed prey into the most feared predators in galactic history. The galaxy had learned what true terror looked like. It looked like humans who had decided that something needed to die and would pursue that goal across star systems and through generations until it was accomplished. The moment humanity stopped being prey was the moment every other species learned to be afraid of the dark between the stars. Human ships moved through space now with the confidence of apex predators. They were no longer prey animals hiding from hunters. They were the hunters, and everyone in the galaxy knew it. The transformation was complete and permanent. Humanity had won by becoming everything their predators feared most: relentless, patient, and absolutely unforgiving. The hunt had ended with humanity on top, and that was exactly where they intended to stay.